President Biden made an announcement just the other day that would absolutely devastate the U.S. economy for years and likely decades. And we're going to get to exactly what he said and what others are saying after the fact. Now, here's what I can tell you. Senator Joe Manchin, who is a Democrat, called out President Biden's comments, saying that they were offensive and disgusting. Now, this is obviously creating a lot of chatter so close to the election. We just have 2 days. That is it. But some are now worried that Democrats are falling apart at the worst possible time. Now, that's not all. President Biden, he's been making headlines all week. Actually, for the past few weeks, he's been making headlines because statements that he's making regarding employment, energy, Social Security, and obviously inflation. Remember, this is the same person that said that Social Security recipients are going to get a big increase because of his administration. No, it's because of inflation, not because of his administration. But the headlines that he's been making, well, this is not what the Democratic Party really needs at this time. Besides, the Biden administration has been applauding their own efforts in getting more jobs filled in the past 6 months. And everyone's looking at this thinking, oh, great, we are getting more jobs. Unemployment's going down. But when you look at the Federal Reserve, when we are currently in a very high state of inflation, that's not what the Federal Reserve wants. The Federal Reserve wants employment to go down. They want to see unemployment go up. They want to see wages go down. That's what they want. So even though the Biden administration is applauding their own efforts, right, we still have a staggering amount of open positions. They are still claiming that their work has provided more families with a good income. But here's what economists are telling us. Economists are telling us that it doesn't matter how many jobs the Biden administration attempts to fill. Even if they try to hire 87,000 new IRS agents, that will not be enough because a lot of the jobs that are currently being filled are low-paying jobs that cannot keep up with inflation. That's an issue. And economists say that the Biden administration needs to put more focus. And even though this is what economists are saying, this is also what many Democrats are saying as well, that the Biden administration has to put more focus on reducing inflation and not smearing the MAGA Republicans. That's a big issue because at this point, again, we have 2 days left before the midterm elections. And it seems like both parties, well, mainly Democrats, are trying to push down the other as opposed to build themselves up. And again, it's a major issue. But here's another issue that President Biden is going to have to face within the next week. In 1 week, on November 14th, we are getting reports out of Axios News saying that former President Donald Trump is likely to announce whether he will run or not run for office once again. So again, that is coming in just 1 week. Now, let's talk about what has gotten the Democratic Party so divided. And that has to do with energy costs and production. Now, you may have seen this. This was all over the news, just on Friday night. I know a lot of people do not watch the news on Friday night, which is why I continue to do weekday and weekend updates. But here's what happened. Senator Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat from West Virginia, right? He strongly believes that we can't just move away from fossil fuels towards electric and wind, solar. We can't do that. He stated that we can't just make a switch. The entire country depends on fossil fuels in order to operate. And he is 100% true, 100% correct. That is exactly what happens. If we were to move away from fossil fuels, it could take decades in order to do that and be successful. Now, keep in mind, he is the senator from West Virginia, and in West Virginia, they produce around 12.6% of our nation's coal. That is, they're number two, I believe, behind Wyoming, who produces about 40%. their coal industry, this employs more than 11,000 people in the state. So obviously, Senator Joe Manchin is against anything that would impact his state this heavily. Well, here's what President Biden said on Friday. He said, and I quote, "We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America and having wind and solar." Obviously, this got Republicans rolling. Democrats were fairly upset that President Biden would come out and say this just a handful of days before the election. That's not good. Republicans are not happy about President Biden's attempts to stop production on anything outside of wind and solar. And Senator Joe Manchin, he had this to say, and I quote, "Biden's comments were not only outrageous and divorced from reality, they ignore the severe economic pain the American people are feeling because of rising energy costs." And Senator Joe Manchin and Biden said Biden needs to apologize to the mine workers that are keeping our country running. But he also went on and said, and I quote, "Comments like these are the reason the American people are losing trust in President Biden. It seems his positions change daily depending on the audience and politics of the day." Now, let's touch on that. When you have a Senate Democrat in Joe Manchin who comes out and publicly states that comments like these are the reason the American people are losing trust in President Biden, that's a big statement. That's a bold statement. And then he comes out and says, it seems his positions change daily depending on the audience and politics of the day. Again, big statement. Because the overall worry right now is if Democrats win more seats in the Senate, which as of right now, and within the next 2 days, we will know. But as of right now, Democrats are likely to lose seats in the Senate. The Republican Party would hold the majority, which means Mitch McConnell will be the new Senate Majority Leader, and bills will likely go there and die. Now, this could actually be a good thing in this one case, because experts are worried that if Democrats win more seats in the Senate, then they could actually bypass Senator Joe Manchin in an attempt to put an end to fossil fuels, and in doing so, would raise energy costs across the nation. That's exactly what would happen. If we try to end fossil fuels before wind, solar, really any renewable energy. If we try to do that, guess what? Prices are likely to go up because we are not there yet. We are still years away, and I'm not talking about 1 or 2 years, most likely a good decade away from being able to switch more to electric vehicles as opposed to running our cars with gas or diesel. Now, right now, when every household is worried about inflation, we don't need something else pushing our prices even higher. We just don't. But that's kind of where things are at. And Senator Joe Manchin, he's fighting back against President Joe Biden. Now, and again, keep this in mind, Senator Joe Manchin is not up for re-election this year. He's not up for re-election, which means he's still going to be there. So people that keep on saying that, Senator Joe Manchin, he's not going to be part of the Senate, come January. Yes, he is. He's not on the ballot. He's not on the ballot this year. All right. Now, we do have some good news, though. For those people that are fighting inflation, it's about a 1 in 3 million chance. But here's the good news. If you want to go spend some money, you can actually go and get a Powerball ticket. Okay. Don't buy this one. This one, it was a loser. But yes, I did buy a Powerball ticket. And Powerball, the jackpot now, as of this morning, has now hit 1.9 billion with a B. This is the highest Powerball jackpot, highest, I believe, lottery, ever. Okay, so if you are the lucky winner here, you'd actually walk away with $929.1 million, almost $1 billion, because you bought a Powerball ticket. So that's what we know at this time. Again, there's a lot of stuff happening over the next couple of days. My guess is I may come out and do more than just 2 videos a day because there's going to be a lot of changes. I know people are wondering, hey, what's going on? Who do I vote for? Where do they stand? What do they stand for? Now, I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm here to tell you what is actually happening on the day-to-day basis. So that's what I can tell you moving forward. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, all I ask, spend 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.